Hello and good day, ladies and gentlemen. Konzi here, bringing you episode 4 of Kenshi Age of Blood and Sand. This episode here carries on straight from where the previous episode ended. What we're going to be doing right here is just trying to sort out the inventories so I can move needed equipment across to Ray to lighten up Lidus, so his sneaking is going to be easier. And it looks like, yeah, someone's decided to rumble the party. They do appear to have a nice bounty on their head, and they're wearing a hazard suit. I thought it was an Oni then for a second, and if that was an Oni, we would have been in serious trouble. Now this guy's going to be super tanky just because of the armour he's wearing, but hopefully Lidus will be able to take him down. Then once he's taken down, I'll get Ray to pick him up, so we can cash in the bounty. Hopefully the bounty's somewhere that we want, but then on the other side is we're not hostile with anyone yet, other than the Holy Nation, but that just comes with the territory of being Hivers. Part of the reason we're going to wipe them out. But this is definitely going to take a while. I'm using a katana, so I've got negative armor penetration, and then the armor on the hazard suits is insane, so this is going to take a while to get him down. Alright, tidy, we've got him. So what we'll do is we'll just check his kit, see if he's got anything worth taking, and then we'll just de-equip his hazard suit, so if he does decide to break out or try anything funny, he's not going to have any armour, and he's unarmoured, so he's just going to get smashed up. We are going to need to try to recover a bit. We're pretty much patched up now, and Lidus didn't take too much important damage, so his sneak shouldn't be affected too much, and we're going to start making our way in, see who we can get out. I think pretty much the plan's going to be we unlock the cages, they undo their shackles, and then we're just going to get them to own it to Ray, because I reckon Ray might be able to take one slaver, maybe two at a push. Anything more than that and he'll die, but it does mean we'll have enough time for Lidus to come backwards and forwards just to try to make sure the Hivers get out. But despite how powerful Lidus is, if he gets overrun he's going down. He's got virtually no armour. His katana's okay, but it's not going to do very well against the noble guards, against the normal slavers in their trader levers. That's going to be fine, and in like the shoddy mercenary plate I'll be okay, but once anyone with any proper armour comes in, we are going to have some serious issues. So I'm thinking what the plan's going to need to be is we send out a couple decoy runners, and also the rendezvous point I originally chose is not going to work, partly because we are just too close to eye socket at the moment, which would just mean that the guards would just be like too close and they'd easily aggro on. So we try to run out a couple, try to get the guards drawn, get the others, and then run them as well, and then hopefully because the guards will be split up, they'll have a better chance of getting away. Hivers are quick, but they've virtually got no athletics off the bat, so just get them out, get them moving, and then hopefully they can create enough distance before the guards aggro onto them, and then we're going to take it from there. So I'm already one down, but you'll be patched up, so it's not an issue. I mean, we won't get all of them out, like that's a guarantee, but if I can get a few of them out now, will be a good start, and then I can start sending them to the way station. Other side is I can always come back and get them, so trying to break everyone out is always going to be difficult, but if I can get a few of them out, also when the guards come in, like now, I can start taking down a couple guards, which means each time we go for an escape it's going to be easier, and hopefully we just don't aggro the noble guards in, because they are going to prove quite the issue for us. A good side effect of sending the hivers up when I have the opportunity is where it aggroes the guards. There's less guards in eye socket, so less guards means that when Lidus has to fight them, he's not fighting as many at once, because pretty much any guard here, even a noble guard, Lidus is going to be able to take one-on-one with not too much issue. But as soon as there starts getting 3 or 4 of them, just through the sheer amount of attacks they're going to be able to kick out, it's going to be a big issue for Lidus. So we're just going to keep having a look around, see what opportunities we got, see how everyone's doing, and just try to get as many out right now as possible. And then when I need to come back to do rescue missions, they'll be easier, because ideally when we're fighting the guards we might like knock off a limb, or one of them will bleed out, so there's going to be less of them and they're going to be less effective hopefully each time we do it. But it's not looking like we're getting too far with the hivers running out. It seems like a silly strategy because it's kind of wasteful, but it does work quite nicely. Next proper chance I get, I'm definitely going to need to start looking towards taking out those harpoon turrets, because they're going to cause serious damage. But right now I've got to pull out, there's just too many of them. Silver lining to it, where we're starting to get out and about now, we're getting a decent spread, so that means that we're splitting the slavers, so there's normally only like 1 or 2 of them at a time. This is going to make it easier for Lidus to go in and start dealing with small groups of slavers instead of fighting the big hordes, which we're getting when we go closer towards eye socket. This should prove quite useful. I'm also going to be able to get Lidus to heal up the other hivers, heal up himself, and then get back in. And like I said, the plan's going to be is try to pick apart small groups of slavers at a time, just to whittle them down. And if we can get them when they're semi far away from eye socket, we can prevent the other slavers coming in to heal them, this is going to mean that they won't get healed up. And if they don't get healed up because I'm using a katana and it's got the bleed damage, they will eventually bleed out, which is going to be quite useful for us. They have managed to recapture most of the hivers I got out. I've only got 1 out at the moment, who's with Ray, so he's somewhat safe and also just outside of aggro range, thankfully. But if I can use Lidus to start damaging them, start knocking them down like I keep saying, and we'll deal with it kind of as attrition and just wear them down over time until there's just too few of them and I can just go in and start butchering them. But I still need to be super careful of those noble guards, because they are more than capable between them of taking Lidus down without much of an issue. I've got a couple hivers that are bleeding in the sails, so I do need to go in and try to heal them up. It's at this point I realise I've got limb dismemberment on the setting where it has to be hit to come off, which in my mind makes the game a fair bit easier. So I will need to go and turn that back on soon. So what this will mean is if your damage goes equal number to what the health is below, your limb will automatically fall off, whereas I've got it to set if it goes below, it has to be hit to come off. So the slavers have started to create a death pool. This is going to be a bit of an issue. Just from the sheer amount of them there are, they're going to be able to fill those 5 attack slots I was talking about earlier in the series, which means that Lidus is going to find it very difficult to get any attacks off against them. So what I should be able to do is, because my katana level's fairly high, I've got a decent alpha strike attack, so if I can just keep kiting back and then engaging with the alpha strike, I should be able to work them down. But as a couple of the noble guards are now involved in it and they have katanas which are they deal heavy bleeding damage, I'm going to run into a bit of an issue, because if they just keep hitting me, then my wounds aren't going to recover. So I'm going to need to find a way to try to pick them apart, and ideally a couple of them will de-aggro or maybe another nasty shows up that draws their attention away. But if I could go and take one of them out and steal one of their swords, that'd be really good. And my hivers are now together, the ones that have escaped, so I've got 2 out with Ray, and hopefully we can just keep them away from the conflict, try to get healed up the best we can, rest up, and then pick up any equipment that's going to be useful, and then, like I said, start looking to get in towards the way station, but that's a bit early yet. But if I can keep doing the kiting and then moving out of their hitboxes, then hopefully I won't take as much damage, because right now they are just going to tear me apart, and my robotic arm is pretty much destroyed, so my dexterity is going to take a massive hit. So in a straight fight I'm not going to be able to win. Also, where the noble guards are in samurai armor, which has really good cut resist, my attacks are just going to do sweet all damage. So if I can just thin out the numbers, get rid of the slavers, and then just start trying to fight the noble guards one on one, I will have a better chance. It's once my legs start taking some serious damage, that's when we'll need to find a new strategy. But for at the moment, this seems to be working, pulling them apart and choosing when to engage and when not to engage. This seems to be working quite well. But what I can see on one of the guards is, I think it's an Udachi. If I can get that, that would be amazing, because my Alpha Strike's quite good, but it's not hitting too many people. If I got that Udachi, because it's a longer blade, when it goes in, it'll have a larger sweeping arc, so it would have a larger hitbox to hit more things. Okay. Right, this isn't ideal. Got the Traders Guild coming in. Thankfully, they're not too tough and they're pretty lightly armoured, so my katana's going to be pretty good against them. It's just the amount, and the Garus are going to be super tanky, so I'm going to have to try to disengage, heal up, see what's happening with the rest of my Hivers, and then try to figure a new strategy, because I cannot fight that head on the way that I was. So Lidus is going to get some decent medical from this by the end, having to heal himself up the whole time. Plan with the Hivers that have escaped is, I can't go to the right because I'm right by Gut, and Gut is just full of like beak things, which would just run my Hivers down almost instantly, and potentially 2 or 3 shot almost any of them. So we're going to need to almost cut across eye socket to try just get away from the beak things, because right now the beak things are a far bigger threat than the slavers. Lidus is doing a pretty... What are you doing? Silly sausage. Okay, looks like we're fighting the traders, which is quite useful, because that means they're not going to be in eye socket, or if they are, they're going to be pretty beaten up, which is another point, or another interesting point on Kenshi, is the more damaged you become, the lower your stats become. When it comes to combat stats, words. One of the only ones that is not affected is toughness, and toughness is quite interesting because the more damaged you are, and if you can stay up, each hit you take increases the amount of toughness you get. So if you're on full health and you get hit, you don't get as much XP towards your toughness as if you've got very little health left. Like, so if you get hit when your arms are all mashed up, you're going to get far more than if your arms are all healthy, if that makes sense. So we're just going to try to get out. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. I think Lidus is doing a pretty decent contain on the slavers and the trade guild, so there aren't too many of them left out, which is pretty good. Whilst we have this time with Lidus healing up, we're just going to check in on the other hivers. See, this one here is an interesting one, because if I had the right options enabled, he would have lost 3 of his 4 limbs, which meant he would have bled out, so I would be 1 hiver down already. What I'll do is I'll change that in between episodes, but what we're doing here is we're just going to try and pick apart any stragglers that are still outside of eye socket. So they could be ones that have been beaten up and are trying to return to their post, or they could be ones that have been healed up or are going out to heal. So this way we can work their numbers down. So depending on what happens, we'll have a better advantage because they're going to be weaker and there's going to be less of them. Cool, so I've got the noble guards by themselves. This is quite good. There's 3 of them, so it's going to be a tough fight, but I think should have it. He's got a few decent hits on them in the last fight, so they're not on full health. Otherwise that would have been an issue. But yeah, I can see one of them's got the Udachi, and that Udachi would make such a massive difference. And from the colouring on it, it looks like it's going to be a pretty decent quality one as well. So if I can get that, then despite the massive spike in damage that I'm going to be able to do, spike in AoE damage I'm going to be able to do, and just the reach as well. Also, Udachis, they don't have great blunt damage, but proportionally they got a far higher blunt damage than a katana. So katana doesn't even have blunt damage, whereas the Udachi does. There we go. So we're looking at some pretty decent stats. So it's got better bleed. If you take the cut damage and the blunt damage combined, then you're basically looking at double damage to what my katana does, plus a little bit more. It is quite heavy, so those of you that are new to Kenshi or you're starting out and you're not sure, if you want to check weapon quality, other than checking price, check the weight, because the heavier... Oh, okay, Lidus is down. So when I get a chance, I'm going to have to strip all my gear before they can take it, and then plan for another breakout. But going back to my point, better quality weapons become heavier. So when you're starting out, if you give your, say, low level characters a really high end weapon straight off the bat, a lot of the time they won't be able to wield it. They'll still be able to use it, but the attack speed will be slower and it will do less damage, and the slow march to the way station continues. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. You have been watching Konzi on episode 4, Age of Blood and Sand. I look forward to seeing you for episode 5 of my Kenshi series. Thank you very much and have a good day.